Hello, Kola. Can you hear me? Please let me know if you can see me. Hi, Ndegwa. Hi, Bissy. Can you guys hear me and see me? Hi, Makoma. Hello. Oh, Bissy, thank you. Great. So, welcome to Afrolit on Frontières Season 4. Today we're with Natalia Molebatsi, and she's about to join us. Um, oh, thanks, guys. Thanks, Ndegwa. So, let's find Natalie and invite her on. Waiting for Natalia. Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Natasha.
Hello, Natalia. Kindred names.
Yes, yes.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I think James has just joined us. Leye. Hi, Leye. We're just getting ready to start. So for those of you who don't know Natalia Molebatsi, she is a poet, a performer, a writer. She works in academics as well, in the academic area as well. So she is going to wow us, I believe, with the written word before we begin. So I'm curious. I cannot wait.
Good morning and welcome of new meaning. When chapter comes open, chapter comes close to the edge where we carve a center, someplace to begin from. Every day we are coming out of some little place, sometimes behind the face, the smiling face of hatred. But we are going into places known as everywhere. We at the front lines who tend to lean towards the candlelit heads of men and mountain-like knowings of women who will ask you, someone will ask you, where do you receive your gifts and how do you give them back? Someone will ask you for droplets of your dreams somewhere past the flattery of these words on the other side of the mountain known as language, half past history and how far we have come. On the other side of this moment, on the other side of this, someone will ask you, where have you been and what did they do to you? Someone will ask you, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, Natasha?
I'm doing fine, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Again, I the goosebumps.
I don't know. I mean, you're my leader. You're my leader.
Uh,
Leadership.
that was beautiful. Would you like to go into something else?
Yes, I would like to go into something else. I was just talking about the mountain known as language, and as writers and performers, we struggle between the languages because obviously you want someone to understand your truth or to even believe you, but how am I going to be believed if I'm speaking in Kiswahili or in Shona, but I'm in Belgium or Germany, and what I've understood is that language is really about a celebration of our ancestors, and language not really about the ear, you know. It's also about the skin, you know. So dumelang, nna ga ke na goba wona motse wa mabaibai, andinayo uthenga kodwa ndinawe. Ga ke na tsela, tsebo yona ga ke tsebe, fela ke tseba wena seikokotlelo sa ditšhiwana e re le tlhaba ka meutlwa ya matlhabi-tlhabi, ke tsoše wena wa mathomo-thomo, ebile o le wa bofelelo felo, wena wa bomakgonthe, wena wa go tseba dilo re sa di tsebe, wena wa gore hwetša re sa hwetšege, wena wa gore swara ka mahlo le dikwešišo, mohlomong tša se-Afrika, mohlomong tša ba lefase, wena wa gore tšhelela tsebo ya go tšwa dithabaneng, ya go tšhelela mawatle-watle, wena wa dinokana, wena ngwana bore ke re na ke na mangwe ke na le wena.
Wow.
No translation needed.
None. Wow.
Just that.
Wow.
We don't have anything really. You actually realize in this moment that we're not in control. We have nothing except our bodies, but also we have this, that we have our bodies, our hearts, but we also have you, like the person who is your confidant, your person who is that person that you hold on to when shit really goes dry. And you know, it's that I think in the time we look for ourselves, because we have to interrogate ourselves, but we have to look for those people. At the end of the day, it's about that person. Who is that person? Maybe it's your ancestors. Maybe it's an alive person that you hold on to. I think right in this time of isolation, we are holding on to ourselves, the bits we know and the bits that we are finding out, but also the people we reach out to, and who reach out to us. You know, I was thinking earlier on that the next time I get to hug someone, a friend or even my mother, I am going to cry, you know, because I think it is this time that has made us realize the importance of touch. Just to, you know, we are mourning now. You know, I've just lost a friend, Shonisani, who was a friend to so many of us, and people breaking down and crying, and we are social distancing. You can't even comfort somebody in the ways that you know how to, you know, and ways that we know is really to hold somebody, to hold their hand or to hug them, and we're having to come up with other ways of holding and of touch, you know. I want to be hugged too, Ndegwa.
There's many people going to want to hug you after this. Thank you so much. That is so beautiful. And I think the point really is about our human activity, right? Like just the need to connect, as you said, whether it's with someone here, someone from before, you know. I think our humanity is all we have left. And those words just, they shake one, you know, from the inside. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Troy says he's sending virtual hugs to everyone. And
yes, we receive.
We receive them, Troy. Thank you, guys. And would you like me, could I ask some questions, or would you still like to share something else with us?
Girl, ask ahead. I'll share something later, you know?
Okay. I think the poems you just started with speak to, wow, the ancestral reverence is really felt. And like you said, the importance, I don't think it can get any more important than our current times. So I just wanted to ask, how are you as a poet, as an artist, how are you finding the current times, and how do you think everyone else is responding to the current situation, the current state of flux and uncertainty?
Girl, it's hard. It's hard
Yeah,
because, first of all, we need to acknowledge the fact that hard, it's forcing us to change the ways that we know how to make a living. As artists, we travel. We
yeah,
go to Kenya, we go to Nigeria, we go to the US, to the UK. That's how we live in terms of just making a living. We go into writing residencies and those kind of places. So to basically, as Lebo Mashile was articulating in one interview, the gig economy has collapsed, and a lot of us do not have governments that actually know where to place us, or actually who acknowledge artists as leaders.
yeah,
Artists as people who hold the fabric of society together. Actually, artists are the glue.
yes,
If you get into your car, the thing that you do is switch on your radio, and you
yep,
find artists in there. In this time, we are reading all sorts of, even on TV. What do we do there? We consume culture,
yeah,
and we find ourselves and examples of how to be or not to be, So it is a difficult space. And having said that, it's also an opportunity, really to sit with ourselves. I don't think any of us have sat with their families the way, like spend time with our
ah,
families the way we have in this time, just finding out who we really are. So, every negative has got its positive, So this is where we find ourselves. But I also find how interesting it is that the first people to basically respond, not react, but respond to this moment that we're living in right now, really how artists just got to work,
yeah,
digital, streaming, exactly the
mhm,
space that we are in right now, um, people like James Morua and Zuki Swawana, how they just moved and connecting people with, digital spaces. So this is how artists really create stuff. People knew that, people, society needs poetry, that, people need the voice of the writer. So having people actually read fiction out aloud, how people had concerts, Bobo Yusondo, how they had concerts, basically just to keep people going. And so I think that artists in the, like, the plethora of artists, from writer to painter, it's only when we don't have these people that we realize how much we need them. It's only when you don't have the choice to walk into an art gallery or museum, it's only then that
yeah.
you realize, shit, if the times that you don't have the opportunity to go into a festival, into a
Yeah,
concert, theater, it's then that you realize, damn, I missed this, you know. But I really applaud artists and cultural workers in how they have been able to keep us going and to feed us, really to feed our souls, even though they are literally starving. A lot of artists, you know, are, you know, especially in a lot of our countries where there hasn't been any relief or much, you know. So I don't even know if I answered your question of how I'm doing.
You have. You have. Thank you. Thank you very much.
On
Lots of
your
changes.
book. Congratulations on your book that you've released. It's part of answering the question. Please remind me the name of the book so that we can also tell the people to support this way.
You see, my name sister is, she's flipped the script on me, but I will tell you, it's called No Be From Here. That's HIA for here. But thank you. Yeah.
I'm saying this because it's an example of how we didn't stop the connection. You know, we're finding new ways to say, okay, the book cannot be printed right now, but it's on Amazon, you know, and this is how you are feeding us, you know, with your words. And I think society needs to also learn that as much as they're consuming culture from us, they need to do their part. You know, it's not even about helping us. It's about the engagement between the writer and the audience. What is the role of that audience right now to make sure that the art keeps on coming, you know? So
100%. Yeah, no, it's a codependence, and like you said, it's really important in these times, and it is the glue that keeps us together. So, I have a question from Degwanguru here, who says, Natalia, of the poems you've penned and performed, which one do you most treasure, and what was the dominant emotion that propelled it?
I love all my children equally. You know that's a lie.
I felt like saying that too. Like, I bet you she's not gonna. There's no favorite child.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I have phases where I connect with a particular poem differently, you know, because of the moment. You know, I have a series of poems that I write for and about. Well, I write them for myself, but really I write them about the Palestinian people, and
Wow.
so there's different moments that I connect with those poems more, and you know, poems that I maybe write about war that I relate to differently, you know. So yeah, I think different times there's one poem though that I find myself, I mean, my daughter says, don't say that poem, because I find myself saying it almost like a signature, almost like a greeting. I say it everywhere I go. If I stand on the stage, if I start a workshop, I say that poem, and I've, you know, my daughter always advises me that you get boring when you say that poem the whole time. But I always say, but when you listen to music and you listen to that one particular song, it's the song that you like, or even an artist who kind of opens the stage with this one particular song. You know, I think there's an affinity that one has with that particular poem or song, you know. Yeah.
Are you gonna sing out for us, or have we already heard?
No. So yeah,
While we have you
I wasn't
here,
gonna do this poem. I wasn't going to do this poem, but hello, traveler, warrior, journey people. Hello. Hello, Natasha. Come on now.
Stop. Hello.
Welcome to these pages. These are the stages on our journey. So hello, goodbye. I will meet you at the corner. I will find you at the fringes. I will see you at the crossroads of our prayers. Traveler, warrior, journeyman, troubled. Warrior, journeywoman, tired, but trying into the limitless sky in pursuit of roots and truth in pursuit of the other side. Journeywoman, hey, journeywoman, what are your foundations? Because I too, I am searching, always searching for my formulations. And if any of you, traveler, warrior, journey people, ever get to the other side, to the other side, tell them that we were made of flesh and the blues. Tell them that we were crafted into flesh and loss and lies many times. Tell them when you get to the other side that we were made of flesh and the long tapestries who hold us up when we can't uphold ourselves even. Tell them that we were crafted into flesh and love. So we search as the journey goes. We search.
May I?
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank
I'm on a journey.
you.
Wow, that is.
Yeah. You know, so yeah.
Okay, carried me.
So that's the one poem that I find myself doing over and over. Although I don't do I usually like to do, if I've said a poem once, I put it aside and I continue on the journey and find other poems. But this particular one kind of stays in a way, so.
It is beautiful. It really is.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
That, where can we find your work? I have a question from Zukiswa, which follows up by she's asking how you manage your distribution for your books and your work on the continent.
Sure, that's a hard one. It's really hard. I have work on iTunes. I have work on Amazon, and there's a publisher, my previous publisher, Forum, at the University of Udine. They have a book called Elephant Woman Song, which is poetry and paintings from a colleague of mine. Yes, Tiziana Pers did the paintings. So yeah, I think distribution is really difficult for a lot of us. We kind of go as we go. I mean, when Abantu Book Festival is on, the bookstore is kind of buzzing and the books are there. Or when Ake Festival, the bookstore is happening. So, different places, but I must say that distribution is a struggle as we go along. And sometimes I think as artists, we do need to think about that a lot, because a lot of times we just kind of create work and just move on and don't. I think we need to kind of rewire when it comes to things like distribution. and marketing. And we also need to work with other people who kind of take care of things that we don't take care of, which are just as important, you know, just access to our.
That is true. And having said that, James Moreau is asking, I think you've answered it, but I'll still ask it because I think we can still get just a bit more out of it. So he's asking about the collection Elephant Woman Song. And just for the sake of the audience, Natalia really describes it with such humility because it is a phenomenal piece of work. And because you collaborated, did you find a certain magic in the collaboration, and how did you come about collaborating? And what has it done for your poeting with other artists? That's from James.
Thank you for that question. I was writing, so that my grandmother's totem is the elephant. My grandmother Mushidi wankarta ka tsoga basetsana ba robetse ka shila mabele ya re ba tsoga e be ke tshola mofokotso. So everywhere I go, I kind of just say a little bit of what my grandmother used to say, which she learned from her own grandmother, who learned it from their own grandmother. So I was dedicating a lot of poems to her as Minato, the dancer of the elephant. Different. We have different totems, so you'll ask somebody, what do you sing or what do you dance? If I have to translate it into English, it kind of doesn't sound just right. But what do you sing or what do you dance? And somebody will say, I dance steel. Like iron. I'm a dancer of the iron, like Ogun, or somebody will say, I'm a river dancer, in a sense of I dance the river. I look after the fish in the river. That's where the history of it comes. Or I dance the bird. That kind of. So my grandmother danced or sang the elephant. And so I was writing poems about some of the things that she went through as a woman, as a girl, and when I discovered that Tiziana Pers was, without even knowing what I was doing, she was painting elephants because of the plight of the elephant, being poached, so she was on that side of the environmental side, and she was doing the elephant song. And I was like, damn, girl, I'm writing these poems about this elephant woman, so that's how the collaboration was born. And the elephants were just beautiful, and how she was painting them, they started to speak to me. And in addition to the poems that I had already created, more and more poems were coming, so yeah, that's how that collaboration was born. And
the way you're speaking, Natalia, it's making me it's connecting me to your earlier words about the mountain, the language from the other side of the mountain. Like there was one mountain, but both of you are speaking from both sides, from either side of the mountain.
Absolutely. From the ancestral point, and she was on the environmental side, the kind of nature preservation side, and we just connected at the right place at the right time, and it truly made it made a lot of sense.
Wonderful. Let's see. Okay, I think I have a question. Ndegwa's saying, Tash, tell us how you're feeling through this performance, since your emotions can be described in more than a digital commentary. Wow. I would actually have to write down how I feel. I don't know. I really have to sit and think about it because
Yeah.
It's forming, it's bubbling, if that makes sense. The words are pasting themselves to me and forming their own sort of shape and feeling. So it's coming. I don't know how else, but the one thing it does do is shake from the inside. I don't know how it's
Yeah.
everyone else
No,
saying.
I mean, first of all, for me, I would really appreciate Zux's work. You know, the Afrolits really is a good platform. A lot of times I catch it, you know, I catch the playbacks, which is not really the same as when you're catching it live because we look
Yeah.
at, but because I miss I miss my GMT, my CATs, and it's just a whole mix up. It's a mess. But it's a beautiful mess because we are able to come back and catch the performance and the discussions. So it's really it's also a joyful moment, you know. It's quite emotional too, because I think of everything that's happening to us right now. I guess we are also happening to it. But I any of us expected this moment to
No.
happen, you know. So, yeah.
True. So can I ask you about your academic work, Natalia? Can we talk
Yes.
about your academic work? And, yeah, your.
I mean, you know, my academic work, I kind of, somebody, we were discussing and they call their work academic, you know,
Academic.
because
Ah.
I don't know if you know, within an academic space, I would be considered a person who writes academic work. However, my point of departure is as an artist, as a performer. I like to analyze my own work as well as other people's work, because when you are in a literature class or in a poetry class and you working through a particular poem with students, you you give your own meaning, which is you know, which is a natural thing, which is what people do. I also feel that sometimes when people are teaching this work and they don't have an affinity to it,
Mm.
there is a lot of misappropriation or misreading of stuff, especially to, sometimes it's African literature. I know the African literature is literature. Is I'm not separating it from, you know, but there is still a particular tone and a particular history to it. Or if you're talking about womanist literature, there's particular nuances in there that. So for me, as a Pan-African feminist writer, when I kind of write academically about my work, or I submit my work to a journal, I feel that I've done a bit of justice, because if I'm writing about a movement of feminist poets, I am part of that community, and it's important that our voices be heard in the academic books or journals. So if I contribute a chapter or a paper to a journal, or I do a panel at a conference. A lot of these, and it's changing, but a lot of these spaces, you found that it was just academics who read and do the work from an outsider's perspective. And sometimes they do a good job, and sometimes they do a shitty job of it. Sorry,
No,
yeah,
that's
but
cool.
anyway. So I think the contribution of the artists themselves, you know, in teaching this work and in putting this work through true. It's really important. If you're a travel writer and you're writing from a perspective of traveling and the politics of traveling as a Black person, you know, you are putting through, there are some narratives that you are putting through that maybe have been silenced or erased, and the kind of theoretical perspective that you have. So for example, I write, currently I'm writing a lot about you know, the how performance is kind of improvising itself in this COVID-19 space.
Okay.
I'm writing about the feminist agenda within media, and a lot of my focus, my specific focus is radio. So how are the voices of women coming through, and how are they navigating this, the gatekeepers of the media? And the gatekeepers could be from an ideological perspective, that there's a stereotype that feminists are about hatred of men and they want to kill the children, and you know, so based on that stereotype, their voices could be cut down, you know, that they talk too much, they, you know, as opposed to just opening up the space and giving them the airtime, right? And some of the gatekeeping can be around genuinely that there isn't enough space for every news item. And part of it could also be the kind of entertainment that we are hearing on the radio is very sexist, is kind of objectifies women and that kind of stuff. So I look at those kinds of things and try to find reasons for them. And so yeah, I publish that kind of work, and also I publish work on memory.
Wow.
And the importance of memory, especially while I'm using my perspective as a South African.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of erasure. I mean, literally, the apartheid government was shredding stuff, killing that kind of the testimonies, the experiences of Black people, you know, through is right early removed about who was killed and why killed and what they said. So you find that a lot of people who lost their loved ones are left with the trauma, but also with a missing truth, almost like these people never existed even, right? So it's important to talk to the people who were there, right? To depend on memory, because sometimes, and as a Black person, as a Black woman, it's like you're not believable, you know, when you say I was raped, when you say I was tortured, you know, so there's those kinds, and you, what evidence do you have? I'm working on my memory, right? And also, it's not just our own memories, you are looking intergenerationally. So the kind of things that you heard from your grandmother, what happened, you know, how they hid young men who were running from the police in their homes. So you are then, as Toni Morrison talks about, that term of rememory. So you are relying on the experiences and the words of your ancestors, and validating them is to document them, is to say these truths were not recorded because they were not worthy of that time. And I think right now is that time where we have to bring into academic spaces enough Black people to cite when students are doing their assignments, when they're writing their theses, their dissertations, enough Black people to cite enough. Like there has to be an overflowing pot of Black women to cite, and not only Black women from the U.S. There has to be enough Black women from the African continent and the diaspora, meaning those Black women writers from Haiti and Jamaica and Trinidad and all those places, right? Because we tend to rely on our sisters from the US, also because how the US is this marketing and media machine, right? And so if we cannot find enough Black women, if we cannot access, rather, is the word, enough Black women to cite, we need to find those people, right? We need to go into that archive and find them. And if we cannot find them, we need to create that work, you know? So how we create fiction, you know, between truth and imagination. We do, you know, Bibi Bakari Yusuf talks about that archive of the future, that the kind of work that we create right now, and the work that we right now is not just about this moment. We are building an archive for future people, that 500 years from now, 100 years from now, the same way that Shakespeare is still, you know, Shakespeare. How are we thinking about African literature and Black women's stories and realities? How are we thinking about them as elastic, as work that will go on and feed future people, so that future people are not finding a void when they are looking for work 50 now, 100 years from now? So yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Spot on. Thank you very much. I think I have some comments of people saying they nodded their head so much. Who was that? Madam Africa said, I've been nodding my head so much it hurts. And PK as well says, yes, all of academia needs all of our voices. And I like your reference to, if the artists are participating in academia, it means we also, to some extent, own the initial intention from the work that we're creating, rather than just leaving it to, you know, arbitrary sort of analysis or, you know, having it misconstrued. If we participate, we get to own the intention that much further.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Ndekwa says, academia and starting again from the ground up can be a step to making academia accessible? Question mark.
I mean, yes. For example, how music, African music, academic work, for at a Caesarea Avora, if you look at a Thandiswa Mabai, who is living right now and creating work from, you know, ancestral memory and intergenerational memory, a Huma Segela, a Miriam Makeba, you know, I'm just kind of counting people from just the top of my head. There is so much memory. There is so much, the kind of performance that they're doing. What does it really speak about in terms of the now, in terms of Afrofutures, in terms of our past? You know, we need to teach this work in class, and not just music classes, but history classes, literature classes, you know, those kinds of spaces. I think we have a lot to contribute to these universities that shut us out.
That is very true. We do have a lot. And speaking of exciting spaces and other places which we should be performing in, James is asking, what are some of the most exciting spaces that you've performed around the world?
Whew. Lots. I mean, I have had really the privilege of just words. Whoever knew that words could take you to everywhere, you know? So I like traveling on the African continent. I really do. So first of all, Palestine has been, I wouldn't say exciting, but reference kind of point, because, you know, when apartheid started in 1948, that's how the occupation to form there between the people in Palestine and my people in South Africa. So that has been a space I will remember for a very long time. And I always have a craving, you understand? Craving of Nigeria. With all the mess that happens, that is Nigeria, there is also such excitement, the kind of confidence that Nigerians hold. Natasha, I don't know if you're still there. Hello, Natasha. So anyway, I will say a craving for Nigeria, absolutely. Also, you know, places like Ake, it's just, yeah, it's been a highlight. Places such as Abantu Book Festival in Soweto has been just absolute magic. I also enjoyed the Buenos Aires Literature Festival. It's always such a delight to be in spaces that in spaces that just adore literature like this. I actually compared Argentina to Nigeria, where people just adore literature and they just go there and they just love it, and it kills that myth that as Black and brown people we are illiterate and we don't read and all that, because there's enough of us, just so many of us, actually most of us read and love literature. So when you go and when you go to Soweto, I mean, there's been so many lies told about South Africans that we rely on white people to give us literature, that we don't create our own spaces. So Tandom Golozana went and created this. I mean, if you've been to Aban, it is an experience every person has to immerse themselves in. It's just magical. Yeah. Hashtag Abantu. And just how Lola feeds us in the festivals when we go to, when we are in Nigeria. Oh, you can't hear me? I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now? I don't know. Can anybody say if they can hear me? I don't know. Can anybody? I don't know, Natasha. Can you hear me? Oh, I think it's you. I think it's you, Natasha. You are muted, maybe. It's me. So, Bajari, can you hear who? Me or or Natasha? We can't hear each other then. No. Tasha, we can't hear you. Also, I should continue. Okay, so my director is gone, so I don't know what to. Hold on. Maybe I'll change. Hold on. Uh, uh, all right, I'm back. Maybe what I can do then is read a poem, because we seem to have lost each other there. So I'm finding the poem. Excuse me, Natasha. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice. Okay, so yes, I was talking about the places that that I've been to that have been absolutely magical, and I also believe that as Africans, we need to travel more to each other's worlds, because we don't do enough of that. You know, the minute we have a little bit of money, we travel to Europe. I think, you know, there's so much to see and to experience of one another's homes. I had a poem that I really wanted to read for you, but I see that I can, just for the life of me. Okay, so this poem, I'll just read bits of it about this moment. And the poet remembered, read, wrote, cried, worried, prayed, opened up and sang, and broke and fell and felt hollow, blue, lost, found new ways, new questions, new fires, ways of healing and truly seeing. And the poet held on. Oh, yes, the poet did. Held on to the spirit of things, the politic of things, the heavy shit from the bellies of politicians. Imagined what the people would say if there was anything left to say. And the poet longed for the people's voices, the simple yet definitely gorgeous feeling of touch. And the poet feared for the children, those with already very little and missed education, and the teachers who are an empty classroom. And the poem drank every water in every book they could find. And the poet stopped running, because see, the poet spends lifetimes running from here to there, running from themselves. And the poet calls on earth, on water, on sky and fire, wind forces that the poet surrenders to. And the poet became an open heart. The poem becomes a reimagination of wonder, a rebirth of wonder where healing and change are possible. And the poet is the people, and the people are the earth and the sky that our ancestors danced and died for. Natasha, I I I feel a little man. But anyway, I see that you cannot hear me, so I will do another poem. Me sound over there. This is a poem that I wrote a while ago about war, but not necessarily, or not only the war that happens, you know, the conventional ways that we know, but other ways as well. The war that happens on the bodies of women, particularly the bodies of Black women and trans women, you know, the war that happens on the bodies of lesbians everywhere, but in particular in the townships, you know. After the war, what do we do with the guns and the machetes? After the war, when the men and the boys are dead, when the men and the boys return, what do we do with the guns and the machetes? Do we mount them on our walls as amulets, or do we keep them just in case? What do we do with the guns and the machetes? Do we toss them into the deepest of pits, never to see them surface again? Or do we pass them on to the next buyer or stranger, just in case we need another war after this one? Hi, Natasha. I miss your voice. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Zuki for the Afrolit Sans Frontières. I really appreciate the work that is happening digitally. I appreciate the work of Brittle Paper. I appreciate the work of the Chiki Natives. I appreciate the kind of archive that James Murua is creating. So thank you to everybody, and let's keep on creating this archive. I'm sure that future people are going to thank us. And thank you, Natasha. May you continue to create the work that you are doing. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.